Yes, guys, welcome back to the Talking Sense podcast, episode 3 with myself and Dan.
Took the words out of my mouth, and you did.
As promised, an episode every week. And this week, leading on from the episode 2, we've brought it in line with the recent announcements from the government and Boris. And we wanted to cover the topic of the road to April 12th, or the road to freedom, shall we say.
For most of us.
For most of us. This episode is, as much as this podcast is around fitness and lifestyle and health and nutrition, you know, we want this to be a little bit broader this week and cover everything leading into, you know, what we want to call the new normal once COVID is kind of over. But specifically talking about the gyms reopening on the 12th as well, and how you can make the most of the time in the lead up to, you know, the gyms reopening and going back to normal.
April 12th, yeah. So I'm going to let you kick off with this one, with our first point.
So as always, guys, we'll cover a few points, okay? Take from it what you will. But what you want to do now, or what we believe that you will benefit from going forward, is to sit down with yourself, have a little bit of a self-talk, and establish some goals going forward. So whether that's fitness and nutrition based, you know, with the gyms potentially opening on April 12th, you want to start considering early what you want to achieve between now and then. But then also between now and summer, because with the dates that have been set, the blueprint outlines the possibility of all restrictions on social contact being lifted by June. So not only are the gyms set to open in April, some sort of normal life is expected to resume towards the late end of summer. So, you know, whether that's gospel or not, I think it would be wise to start considering how you want to spend the rest of this year, because you might have the opportunity to go on holiday. You're going to have the opportunity to see your family and friends. You're going to be able to experience freedom again. And it would be sensible to start thinking about what you want to get out of this 2021 or the back end of 2021, now that you have the opportunity to have a better year than the past 12 months.
Yeah, I think in terms of, I mean, you can look at it, you know, you've got 7 weeks now to start thinking about some goals that you might want to hit before you get back into the gym. But also with what Brad's saying there, with most of the restrictions being lifted potentially on I think it's the 21st of June, then, you know, that opens up a lot more opportunity for people to, like Brad said, go on holidays, you know, meals out, enjoy time with your friends. I think an important thing that we wanted to touch on was this next 6 to 7 weeks is a massive chance to start making a big dent into those goals that you set yourself, especially as there's not going to be that, how can I put it, social, what's the word?
Restriction.
Yeah, that social
Restriction.
Yeah. So at the minute, you can't go out for a meal. You can't go out and get pissed with your friends. You can't go to the pub. And you can use them things to work for you in this next 6 to 7 weeks, probably to try and maybe speed up the process of getting to where you want to be. And then obviously when the 12th does come, you can reevaluate your goals. You might have set some long-term goals within this period, but you can reevaluate your goals and be in a better position once you are in the gym to go after them. But then you've got to take into account that we will be, well, saying that, we'll still be in April, won't we? So it's only April, May to work on your goals without them restrictions being lifted. But I think what I'm trying to say is you've got a good chunk of time where you don't have the temptations of socials to hinder your progress, and now's the time to jump on it really and start acting.
Like we say, whether it's fitness or whether it's lifestyle, you've got to start sitting down and considering how they're going to work together. So, for myself, my goals this year are to do a photo shoot again. But at the same time, I can guarantee you that I will want to see my friends, see my family, be able to go to the beer garden, have a pint, have a meal out. Me and Dan are keen to have a night out together. We've lived together for over 12 months now, and we've not been able to really do much. Not been able to have a beer together. So you need to be starting to put a plan in place where these sort of things can coincide with each other. So start considering writing down some short-term goals and some long-term goals, specifically for over the next 6 to 7 weeks before the gyms reopen, and then start to plan ahead for the remainder of 2021 as well. Just so you avoid the shock factor of leaving it too late and then getting yourself in a little bit of a fluster, because some of you guys might have kids, you might have other responsibilities. So getting sorted early would be a lot wiser than leaving it too late and having too much to do at once.
In terms of, I'm relating this to more gym related goals now as well, but this might be as well the time. There's a lot of people out there that can, set goals themselves, and they're more than capable of, getting the nutrition and their activity on track. But this might be a really good time as well to reach out to a current coach that you've maybe not been working with as much recently, but reach out to a coach that you know or that you want to know, or a personal trainer that you have, and seek their advice, or look to get a plan of action in place with them over the next 6 to 7 weeks to get you in a good starting place for when you're back in the gym. It's all about getting a head start and then working from there.
Like Dan says, you want to start building the momentum now so that you can hit the ground running when things start to open, gyms, all that kind of thing. You already want to be running, hypothetically, at a decent pace, so that when these things do open and you do have the opportunity to train and you have a little bit more freedom, then you're already going in the right direction, rather than having this adjustment period where you're kind of fumbling and stumbling over your own feet. So
I think that pretty much leads us straight into our next point of using this time now to start adjusting your behaviours back into that normal lifestyle. And like Brad mentioned in the beginning, we didn't just want to aim this podcast at looking at, gym life, even though it is included, but starting to get back to normality with eating habits, activity habits like steps, sleeping patterns. I remember in the first lockdown when me and Brad were in a different house, like we'd be up till like 2 a.m, like making each other a brew, just like, and then our sleeping pattern was all over the place because we had nothing, we had nothing to get up for in the morning. We had things to do, but we had such a...
We were getting everything done, weren't we? We were just doing it in a completely weird timescale
on our clock. But, when we are back into normality, you do not want the shock factor come when you're getting back to work and everything else starts falling in place that's normal. You don't want that shock factor of being completely out of sorts with everything.
Some of you guys might have been on furlough. Some of you guys might still be at work. Everyone's going to be different. But like we said before, start to have a little bit of a self-talk with yourself and start to establish what's going to change between now and the next, 6 months, but, short term. Try and have a look at what's going to change in your life, and then start to mirror your usual daily habits or usual daily structure now, because like Dan said, when the gyms are open, you know, me and Dan usually get up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and we're in work for 6. But in that first lockdown, you know, we were staying awake till 2 o'clock in the morning, drinking brews and watching Bad Boys on Netflix, because we'd been working till 1 o'clock in the morning and we just wanted to chill and we weren't ready for bed. And if we hadn't have got into a routine early, to go from going to bed at 2:30 to then getting up at 5 would have been a big shock to your body and, you know, your mind. It would have been quite rough to endure, I guess. So, you know, if you are going back to work or your kids are going back to school, you are going to start training again. Let's start, you know, getting up at the right time, at a normal time, that would mirror your usual waking time. Let's start doing the things like taking the kids to school. Obviously, you're not going to pretend to take the kids to school, but let's start, you know, imagining and planning for that, so that when it does happen, it doesn't seem too strange and alien for you. Try and plan your day around these, you know, events in your daily life. So that's, for example, you know, if you know you have to take the kids to school at 8:30, leave that time free, and then almost, you know, if you are working from home, and you would usually start work at 9, let's start work at 9. Start getting used to working at 9 now. You know, have a dinner break at the same time that you usually would, and then, you know, for example, when the gyms reopen, let's start training at the time that you usually train, and it will almost just make, there won't really be an adjustment period when these things start to change, because you'll have already been doing it anyway, and it'll be easier for you to get back into that routine because you'll already be in it.
That's it. And yeah, you said it all there. It's just about starting to mirror what your normal life and routine is, whatever your circumstances are. You know, it's about starting to get to bed at a set time and getting up at the same time. Even stuff like, you know, you might even want to, I'm using a bit of a daft example here, but like stuff like meal prep. I mean, you might not be going to work, but it might be a good idea to start getting back into that habit of meal prepping like you would have to. Doing a big shot once a week, which maybe you haven't been doing at the minute because you can just nip out here and there and everywhere, but getting all them actions in that you would normally do in working life and in your general structured life of how it was is going to be key before it all comes back properly.
I think one thing to definitely add to this as well is, you know, don't put too much pressure on yourself to do all of these things at once. So start, you know, drip feeding in these little changes. You know, let's start getting up at, you know, let's start with getting up at the right time and going to bed at the right time. And then, you know, as you start to get a little bit more comfortable with the readjustment, start implementing another change and then another change, because, you know, you can't put too much pressure on yourself to do too much too soon, because you'll just end up getting flustered and a little bit pissed off with yourself. And you still kind of want to enjoy the more relaxed lifestyle we've got at the minute, I guess.
I like it anyways.
No, I can't wait for normality to some degree, but I guarantee some people are still enjoying not being at work. So you don't want to, like, you know, you don't want to waste this time.
Completely not appreciate it.
But you know, you get what we're saying.
It's touching on what Brad said then about bringing in them habits one at a time. It's a really good way of putting it. Like, you know, habit building. It's the same thing that we sometimes have to speak to clients about. Sometimes you don't expect 100% change from someone straight away. You know, I don't expect a client sometimes to go to eating exactly how I want them to, training exactly how I want them to, and with the frequency and everything else. It's something that they might gradually build up, but, you know, doing something 25%, 50%, 75% better than it was is all going in the right direction. So even if you're just bringing in one habit a week up to now, you know, over the next 6-7 weeks, that's 6 or 7 things you might have implemented that's going to stop you having that shock factor when things return back to normal. And like Brad said, that might be just, you know, getting up at the same time every day for week 1, and then, you know, week 2 you might bring in something else, and that's a good way of doing it.
So now we've established some goals. You've had a little bit of a talk with yourself. You understand with what you want to try and achieve for the rest of 2021. You're starting to create the new habits and getting back to the normal life. What you want to do now is, this one's more specific to training, but you want to kind of establish a baseline of where you're at now. Because, using myself as an example, I ain't going to be lifting the same weights that I was lifting pre-lockdown.
Hey, be hard on yourself.
It's one of those things, some people have handled lockdown better than others. We're all in the same ship here, I guess, to some degree. We're all experiencing the same lockdown, but some people have struggled more than others. Some people have carried on training. Some people haven't at all. Some people have done a little bit. Some people have carried on tracking their food. Some people have just ate everything they could possibly see in the fridge and had 3 takeaways a week. So what you need to do now is plan for the future by looking at yourself now and seeing where you're at. Whether that's, you're going to have to start training again, just start seeing where your fitness levels are, start seeing where your strength levels are, assess how you've been eating, and then plan how you're going to change things going forward.
Yeah. Establishing a baseline is the perfect phrase to say. And it is, you've got to look at exactly where you are now. And, again, this is quite fitness and gym related, but, you're looking at your fitness level and establishing where that is. You might even do a fitness test to see where you are. You are maybe looking at if you take calorie counting and things into consideration, you might need to work out, what your BMR is, and, if you need to be in a deficit, if you need to maintain, whatever it might be. But all these are baseline factors that you need to know so you can start progressing from that point.
What I can imagine a few people doing now is panicking. Oh, the gyms are open, and I wish I'd started sooner. Why have I not, I wish I'd trained, I wish I'd been tracking my food. And what they're going to start doing now is they're going to start doing too much. They're going to start eating next to no food. They're going to be like, I'm going to cut all my stuff out. I want to eat 1,000 calories a day, and I'm going to go on a run every morning. And then when the gyms reopen, they're already going to be sick of what they're doing. They're already going to be starving. They're probably already going to be in a bad mood. What they need to do, or what everybody needs to do right now, is take a step back, realize what you've done, accept your laziness if you have been lazy, and be sensible with your decisions going forward. Like we said, these short-term goals, they want to be slow and steady, implementing new changes every week. That you don't want to be going from 0 to 100 real quick. You need to, like we said, establish that baseline and then build on it progressively and incrementally, so that when the gyms do reopen in April, you're running at a decent speed, but you're not just running 100 miles an hour.
And I think this is of massive. Can't get my words out. This is of massive importance, what I'm about to say. If you are not knowledgeable enough in order to establish a baseline, and you don't have the knowledge, which isn't a bad thing, to know how to move forward from that baseline, then seek help and ask people for advice, coaches, PTs, the contacts you have. Sometimes I go out of my mind when I send a message out to clients, basically saying, let me help you. And not everyone comes back to me. And then eventually, though, they might need the help or seek the help. But what I'm saying is it's okay to ask. That's what people like us are here for, to guide you when things like this occur. So please
make our job easier
if you need it,
by not making us do double the work. Because, like, using it as an example, like I said before, if you are kind of panicking and you kind of wish you had maintained a decent level of fitness and decent level of health over the past 12 months, or maybe it's just the last 3 months or whatever, what you don't want to do is take 3 steps forward to take 10 steps back. So as an example, let's say you're panicking now, you've not really been training, you've not really been tracking your food, you feel like out of shape, and you're a little bit unhappy with yourself. So what you're going to do now, let's just eat 1,000 calories and do everything. By the time you get to the gym, you're going to end up having to eat more again, because there's just no way that you can progress that going forward. If you're eating 1,000 calories on the 12th of April and you've been doing 10 kilometers a day, how do you ever expect myself or Dan or any PT or any coach to be able to work with that? You're going to have to go backwards again.
Yeah.
To start going forwards.
Forwards again.
So take a chill pill, take a step back, and like we say, be sensible with your decisions. If you don't understand or don't know what's best for you and your goal right now, then ask. Okay?
I think moving on from this as well, so this is more talking about now. So obviously we've been given this date for the gym's opening, if everything goes smooth, and that's 7 weeks away. Now, 7 weeks is a long time. And in 7 weeks, you can make some really positive changes to yourself, whether that's putting yourself in a better mental place, whether that's putting yourself in a better physical place. Whatever it might be, you can highlight some short-term goals to reach in that time that are achievable. We're not talking about, it's 2 weeks until the gym's open. 6 or 7 weeks, you can get yourself into a position where when you do go into that gym, you are moving on to your second stage of progress. You're not going into the gym massively unfit and feeling massively overweight or weak or unfit, however you want to phrase it. But you're going to go into the gym just feeling ready for the gym, and not a case where the gym is going to ruin your life. So I think that's an important thing I wanted to say. 6 or 7 weeks is a great period of time to promote some positive changes. And it's not a quick fix period. It's a period of time where you can make some good changes.
Moving on from this, I think one thing that I definitely think is going to have happened now that this, because I felt it myself, and I know Dan's felt it. What I've been longing for the past, since January really, is just an answer to what is happening. It seemed over this lockdown specifically that there hasn't really been much guidance, or there hasn't really been much information on what's going to happen. And I think now that the date has been set, and that people understand that there is a route, because up until now I feel like people have just been kind of like wandering around like a little bit, just like, oh well, whatever, no one really knows what's going on. Now that there's a date, now that it's the 12th of April for the gyms, now that it's March for the schools, now that it's May for pubs and cinemas, and now that it's June for nightclubs and stuff like that, there is no excuses anymore. There's no excuses at all, because you have the date there. There's no more, oh, we don't know what's going on, so I don't know whether to start now or start in 8 weeks. If the gyms aren't going to open for another 3 months, there's no point starting now. You've got a date and it's 6 weeks away or 7 weeks away, which, like Dan says, it's plenty of time to start making changes. But realistically, it's not that long either. So, you've got no excuses anymore. The date's there in your mind. Let's start making changes now, replacing the bad habits with new ones. And then when the April 12th does arrive, you're moving at full speed.
Touching on that as well, like Brad said, even though it is a good period of time, it's not a massive amount of time. And April 12th will come around fast. So don't spend 1-2 weeks now lulling over and trying to get your shit together.
How many weeks are we into 2021 this week now? Is it about 8 weeks?
It's about 8 weeks in, already.
2021 is flying already, so it's just this again.
Think about Christmas and how, that doesn't seem that long ago. Well, this 7-week period is less than that. But yeah, like I was saying, act now. Don't start lulling around for a couple of weeks and thinking, just have another, don't, start acting and start making them positive changes. And as well, start getting excited about the potential of being able to get
I got a little bit excited yesterday, I won't lie.
Lives back together again, did you?
Yeah. I started thinking about seeing my mates and having a beer in the beer garden and seeing my mum and my brother.
I can't.
I was like, yeah.
I can't take it in me yet. the reality of it.
A little bit of me is like a little bit reserved, like it isn't going to be then. But at the same time, I was a bit like freedom feels like kind of nice. You know what I mean?
I can't even imagine it yet. 5 points.
Yeah, I
happy.
want to finish on one thing and just say, you know, if you want a hard life, do easy things. If you want an easy life, do hard things. And I think it's one of those things like you're always going to struggle with anything, whether it's fitness, whether it's life, whether it's relationship problems or whatever. If you just dodge the hard things and just take the easy route all the time, you know, this lockdown, this last 12 months has been pretty rough for everyone. But going forward, it's just going to get easier. The sunshine on the other side of the hill is close. Do you know what I mean? Like summer's coming, better times are coming. Whether it's in 6 weeks, whether it's in 6 months, better times are coming. You've been through a lot worse over the past 12 months compared to what's coming in the future. But start doing things now that challenge you, because in the long run, it's going to make your life way easier. I think you agree with that statement, don't you?
Yes, I do. 100%.
It's one of those things. It's, you know, if you never experience it, this is like something that we said last time on our mindset podcast. If you never experience hardship and you never go through the hard times, how do you ever expect to be able to cope with them very well? Do the hard things and everything will seem easy. Do the easy things and avoid the hard times, and then the really hard times will feel really shit.
There'll definitely be positives that will come out of what everyone's been through. Don't get me wrong, some people's situations will be far worse than what mine has been. But there will be things that you've learned in this, COVID experience, and bad, poor times that you might have gone through. But I guarantee that experience will make you appreciate, value, and enjoy aspects of life far more going forward. And just the last thing from me before we finish on the points, I think no matter, and yeah, I suppose this is kind of leaning towards the gym again, but no matter where you are at this point, so no matter how much you might have let yourself go or whether you've kept yourself fit, no matter where you are now, just see it as a starting point and turn your head around and start moving upwards, and start setting out again to go after things that improve your life, and make you feel good again. Use it as like a time to really switch 360, and see it as a bit of an opportunity to start moving forward again and feeling good.
Everything is temporary, isn't it? Everything is temporary. Everything you feel is temporary. If you're feeling, a bit of shit now, you can make the change, and now is the time. Like we said, relating it back to the last podcast, use everything that you've experienced over the past 12 months as motivation. You are a product of what you go through and the experiences that you endure. But like we say, good times are coming, people. Good times are coming. The road to freedom, and the road to April 12th, specifically with the gyms for those of you that are looking forward to that.
The gymmies.
Better times are coming. So hopefully this podcast has given you a little bit of structure, a little bit of advice. If you can take anything away from it now, if you can take anything away from the podcast, now is the time to start making positive change, start getting a structure in place for the future, because normality is returning very soon and you don't want to leave it too late.
Don't leave it too late.
Episode 3, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have taken anything away from it, please drop us a like. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please share us around. Give us a little bit of feedback. And as always, episode 4 will be back. We'll be here next week, live on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, all that jazz. Hope you enjoyed it. Talking sense.
Take care, guys. Give us a listen.